For standard 10, we are going to start a chapter that is transpiration. Now, transpiration, as you know, that's a phenomenon which takes place in the plant and has more beneficial effect than harmful effects. Now, what is transpiration? We say transpiration is defined as the movement of water from the aerial parts of the plant. Now, what do we mean by aerial parts? Usually there are three parts in the plant we consider from where water moves out through a streaming process continuously. One is the stomata, number two is the cuticle, that is to the surface of the leaf, and number three is through the lenticels, which are found in the stems, in the old stems, generally in the older stems. Now, as you know that this movement of the water helps the plant in various ways. In the due course we'll come to know that how does transpiration help. But usually, it's a process which is a continuous process which is caused due to the opening and closing of the stomata. That means whenever the stomata is open, the water moves out from the through the stomata, which is in excess. Now, a plant can lose huge amount of water. Like it has been seen that an apple tree within few hours, it can transpire huge amount, more than 31 liters of water continuously. It can absorb, and this excess water moves out through the plant. Now, we say that we'll find out that what are the ways by which transpiration takes place and how it is influenced by certain factors. Now we'll see an experiment here. You can see an experiment here that we take a potted plant, and this potted plant is covered with a plastic sheet. Okay, it's like a polythene sheet, it is covered. A transparent polythene sheet. After a few moments you will see the polythene sheet becomes heavy and droplets of water appear on the surface. We do not know what is water, but we see droplets appear on the surface. Now, if you test these droplets with COCl2, cobalt chloride, then anhydrous cobalt chloride, which is white in color, usually it will turn blue, showing that, it will turn pink, showing that it is the water. So, anhydrous cobalt chloride paper is dry when blue, and when water is there, it turns pink. Okay, so I am writing here pink. So this is usually showing that this droplet is water. Now this water cannot come out from any other surface except the stem and the leaf. So this is one evidence that transpiration takes place from the aerial part. Another experiment is there which is called the Baylier Experiment. Now in this Baylier Experiment you can see that there are two slabs, glass slabs are there, and in one of it is covered with two bell jars, and in one of the slab inside you have kept here a potted plant which is covered. That means the soil portion is covered with a plastic sheet and the aerial part is exposed. In the other in other experiment we see there is no plant, and in both the experiments we have put a cobalt chloride paper inside. You can see with a small wooden piece we have tagged two cobalt chloride paper here. Now this cobalt chloride paper here, it turns pink, showing that the water is present inside. But here there is no change in the color of the cobalt chloride paper, showing that there is no moisture. Even you can keep this air inside dry with any type of drying agent inside this bell jar. So from this is a control experiment, and this is an experiment which shows that the water has moved here and changed the color of the cobalt chloride paper has come out from the aerial part of the plant, that it can be the leaf or the stem. Now, this three things that we say that transpiration takes place through three places. Number one is the cuticle, which is the waxy layer present on the surface of the leaf. Second is the stomata, which is present on the undersurface leaf of the dicot plant, and on both the surface of the leaf on a isobilateral leaf or a monocot plant. So distribution of the stomata is little different. In dicot plant it is found on the lower surface, and in isobilateral leaf or monocot plant it is found equally distributed on the upper and the lower surface. Now here you see, here where is the cuticle present? This is a leaf blade, and on the surface of the leaf blade you must have seen there is a waxy layer, a shining waxy layer. You can find this in jackfruit trees or banyan trees. They are very shining. Now that is actually the cuticle here. This is the cross section. If you cut the leaf like this, you can see the leaf looks like this. This is the upper epidermis. This is the upper palisade layer, palisade parenchyma. There is the spongy parenchyma. This is the lower epidermis. This is the guard cell, and this is the lower cuticle. Usually the upper cuticle is thicker than the lower cuticle. Now there is a reason behind it. Now this cuticular transpiration, usually through the veins which are present in the leaf, the water moves along the cell and moves out to the surface of the cuticle. So since it moves out, the more the thicker the cuticle, lesser the rate of transpiration. So usually in plants you find this type of thick cuticle helps in reducing the transpiration in plant. So this is what we call the cuticular transpiration. The second type of transpiration is called the stomatal transpiration. In the chapter on absorption on leaf, I had told you about that how the opening and closing of the stomata takes place. Basically, the opening and closing of stomata takes place because of the guard cells. The guard cell is the only epidermal cell which contains chloroplast. It is surrounded by subsidiary cells which do not contain chloroplast. So, during the daytime when these guard cells, they photosynthesize, glucose is formed inside the guard cell. You can see here, glucose is formed inside the guard cells, and this glucose allows the water to move inside. The concentration increases here. The water from the surrounding cell enters into the guard cell, and due to differential thickening, the inner layer of the guard cell, which is kidney shaped, is more thickened than the outer layer. The bending takes place and the stomata opens. Now this, you have already learned this, that how the opening and closing of stomata takes place, and there are several theories on it. Even the potassium ion theory is there, and this is the classical theory of how glucose is formed. So this opening and closing of the stomata, you have to study a little bit about that, how does the opening and closing of stomata takes place. So basically we can say that photosynthesis is the process which helps in opening and closing of the stomata. So sometimes it is said that transpiration is the price which a plant pays for photosynthesis. That means since photosynthesis is taking place, the guard cells are opening, and transpiration is a passive process through which the water moves out through the stomata. So that means the stomatal transpiration, what happens, from the cells here, the water which is moving, they move out when the stomata is open, because here in the substomatal airspace there is sufficient amount of moisture, because there is a continuous streaming movement of the moisture here, and the cells are already hydrated. Now if the stomata is closed, they cannot move out, but if the stomata is open, they continuously move out through the stomata, and that is called the stomatal transpiration. The third type of transpiration is called the lenticular transpiration. Now this water is also moving through the stems of big trees which are big trunks and all. Now that water also moves here, like in thick stems, like suppose this is a tree and this is the bark of the tree. Here on this bark of the tree there are microscopic openings. Now these microscopic openings cannot be seen with naked eye, but if you magnify it, so you can see that this is the outer layer of the bark, this is the epidermis, and these are the xylems. Here the water moves actually through the trees. Now this water can also move out through this cortical space, and this is the opening which is called the lenticels. So this type of lenticels are many, and on the surface of the big trees, so water moves out through the lenticels in great amount, and that is called the lenticular transpiration. So there are three types of transpiration. One is cuticular transpiration, the lenticular transpiration, and stomatal transpiration. But always remember, stomatal transpiration accounts for the maximum amount of the water lost through the plant. Now, the factors affecting transpiration. There are several factors which affect transpiration, which are internal as well as external. The internal factors which affect transpiration is the leaf area. If the surface of the leaf is big, the transpiration is more. If the surface of the leaf is small, sometimes you will see that there are some plants with needle-like leaf, like in coniferous trees, the leaves are very needle-like. So there it can reduce the rate of transpiration. So larger the leaf surface, greater the transpiration, smaller the leaf surface, lesser the transpiration. Now, you must have seen that cactus and opuntia, these plants have the leaves modified into spines. The stems are flattened green, which do photosynthesize. In cactus, the leaves are modified to spines and thorns because to reduce the transpiration. Because if the leaf is exposed, then transpiration will take place more. So in order to reduce this rate of transpiration, the leaves are modified into thorns. The second factor the internal factor which affects transpiration is the leaf structure. You will see that in some leaf the cuticles is thicker, like in case of banyan. In some case you will see the distribution of the stomata is less. In some cases you will find the stomata is sunken, like say for example in nerium. Nerium is a plant which has a xeric adaptation, and in this plant you will find that in the lower surface of the leaf, this is the epidermis, the stomata is little bit inside, and this is called a sunken stomata, and the mouth of the stomata is guarded here with some hair-like cells, or usually these hairs, they reduce the rate of transpiration. So in order to reduce the rate of transpiration, they have this sunken stomata. So structure of the leaf also greatly affects the rate of transpiration. If the leaf is smaller or thinner, the transpiration is usually less. If the leaf surface is bigger or wider, the transpiration is more. Now some external factors are also there, like light. If light is directly affecting photosynthesis, so more the light, greater the rate of photosynthesis, stomata will open, so it will increase the rate of transpiration, but of course to a certain limit, because too much of light can also damage the stomatal apparatus. Now we are going to discuss this external factors in the next class, because we'll have to take up this shortage of time. And thank you very much for hearing it, and be safe, and please go through the chapter on this. Thank you.